Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Inlay Terms. I'm your host, Payman Ascari, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Sam Anthony. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate it.
No, I'm really excited. We were talking off stage, and you were. It's really impressive what you've done. But before we launch into it, could you tell the audience, maybe because it's a Canadian audience, could you tell them maybe a little about you and where you live and what you do?
Sure. Grew up in Chicago. I live in Florida now. I moved here. I didn't move away from Chicago because of what it is. I left way before and had no idea it was going to turn into what it is. But I left, God, I think I've been living here 37 years in Florida. And this is when, there wasn't a big population here in Florida. I just got tired of cold weather. Okay. That was the reason. I said, man, you go here for the winter. It's freaking awesome. I just never left. So I currently I run a hyperlocal news platform called Your News. So we operate in every city in the United States, but I do have a handful of Canadian contributors. I'm guessing a dozen or so, and they've all been pressuring me to create a Canadian version. So I've already had my developer look into it because your zip codes, I think, are just a little different than ours, but as he said, this is not as big a lift as something else that I want. So he goes, I'm going to get that first. So we will have a Canadian version, and I'm doing this specifically for you guys. It's a free speech platform. And here's the best part. You guys, more than everyone, of course, the US too, but you guys live in basically underneath the centralized news system, right? Where you have the government controlling. They're paying for all. There's going to be nobody watching, but they're still writing checks to these people, right? And obviously, we didn't know we did, even though it was conspiracy. But all of a sudden, USAID gets uncovered with, with Musk, and all of a sudden, literally billions of dollars were flowing. I mean, Politico, please, $37 million they received. Come on, give me a break. So, yeah, we basically were living in the same thing under the guise of just lies, but now we all know it. So what I do at the end of the day, which is the most important piece, is completely decentralize and democratize the news business and put the power of the press in the hands of the people. So probably within the next 24 months, because of your country and the people, I will probably be an enemy of your state. And I look forward to it very much.
I'm probably going to end up in jail for hosting you.
What the hell? I'm not coming to visit you because I get out.
Send me some cookies. Yeah,
I will.
Okay, so you mentioned that you're creating a news platform. How would you describe, if you were going to describe it to a child, like what exactly is a news platform? If someone is not familiar with that term.
So our domain is yournews.com. When you log in, if you live in the US, your provider geolocates you. So I know if you live in Chicago, Miami, Phoenix, LA. So just imagine you're looking at any news website because they're all the same. It doesn't matter if it's the New York Times or Miami Herald or Chicago Tribune. But the difference is mega scale, because I'm in every city in the United States with the ability to target ads by zip code. The purpose of that is however many ads the Miami Herald could get on their sports page, we could do in one zip code. So for the US, it's like having 70,000 different editions. Make sense? Okay. All news outlets are aggregators, meaning people that have news send what's called a press release to the media. So if you're a nonprofit in Miami, you send a press release to the media in Miami. If you're in Chicago, you send it to the media in Chicago. If you're in Alberta, you send it to the media in Alberta. Then the news organizations aggregate all that information, and then they decide what they're going to air or publish. So I'm an aggregator of the identical content, but we have the ability to print it all because it costs nothing, and we can organize it by subject and geography. As we discussed, I can make a story appear in a city, in a county, in a market, state, regional, or national. So what I am is one big massive aggregator, Payment, bringing all the country's information under one umbrella and creating one uniform media.
Is there any restrictions for, like, if I'm having a birthday party next week, would I upload this to your website, or is there a filtering process? How does it work?
So that would probably be more of a classified, but it's nothing you're going to pay for. But the filtering process is really just us looking at it to determine where it goes, like what geography and what subject it would be under. And the reason we do that is because we sell the ads. And if you sell golf clubs, you want to be around golf content. But I can, if we didn't do that, there's no need to have sports, business, politics, entertainment, because everybody thinks their kid's Little League game is front page national news. And so would your birthday party. It would be front page national news. So you have to put things in the proper area where it's relevant.
Okay, so if I see, I'm in British Columbia. For people that don't know, Vancouver, we have provinces. So we're north of Oregon, I think we are right now. My geography is horrible. But if we're having election issues. So if I see that they're stealing an election, and I write a report and I submit it to you, you would have a team that would vet that report.
Nope. We don't vet anything. How could I possibly know if somebody's stealing an election? How could I possibly know at the city council meeting in Schaumburg, Illinois, what happened? We can't. So the only thing journalists have is their credibility. And the moment they lie, the public will call them out on it. We'll get a ton of emails and we'll eliminate that person. Okay. So what we are is a free speech platform that decentralizes and democratizes the news business. Make sense? Yeah, we're a platform. I'm like Facebook for news.
I was gonna say that I was dancing around that issue, but you mentioned, like, let's take CNN. You're doing what CNN is doing, but CNN is highly centralized. They have funders and donors, and they decide what gets through. Whereas you're saying pretty much anything gets through as long as it's not criminal or
as long as it's not criminal. Yeah. So I could completely disagree with your opinion, but we're going to run it because it's free speech, right? Let the market decide.
No, that's pretty cool. You're doing
and
God's
here's
work.
the thing. Let's just say we have somebody that put out false information. And we'll use the city council meeting. So somebody goes to the city council meeting, they write a completely BS story that's not true. Well, when they submit that article and it gets published, we will get people saying, I was there, that's an out and out lie, it never happened. Then somebody will look into it and we will remove them. That's it. So I'm not interested in having people lie. Like I said, the only thing a journalist has is their integrity. And the moment they lose that, nobody's ever going to read their stuff again. And by the way, our monetization model for news reporters is based on how many people are reading your story. So if nobody believes you, and we'll use a perfect example, Payman, I don't care if it's you or if it's Wendy Bell or if it's, I'm going to be on Sean with the SGT. If you start lying to your audience, they will figure it out and you will lose them. Right? So your integrity is on. You could make a mistake. That's okay. I mean, then you come back and say, "Oh crap! Last week I told you this, but here's what really happened. My bad. Here's how I got into that bad information." But for you to out and out lie, you will lose your audience like that.
And I promise this will be the only tough question I ask. I used to do business startups, so you got every once in a while ask a tough question. How do you differentiate yourself from things like Substack or X Twitter?
Because the content we carry could be like I just got a submission a little while ago in, I think it was Essex County, New Jersey, and it's an auction, right? It's news related stuff. I got a story in Chicago, which was about a new bar that's opening that has a Chicago Bears theme that goes in my food and wine section. This is not Substack information. This is news, right? It's Substack is a little different than what we do, which, by the way, I just paid for technology that's going to be implemented, which will carry two things. Number one, individuals could be followed on our platform. So let's say you were on my platform and you had 10,000 people following you. When you post something, once it gets approved, 10,000 people get alerted to come to your content. And every time they're looking at it, you make money. Number one. Number two, it'll have the same Substack capabilities, because some of the Substack content, and I have a lot of contributors that have Substack accounts. The content on our site gets paid for by the advertisers, right? That's how it works. But you could have some Substack people where maybe a portion of their content they want to keep behind a paywall, and the other portion they'll release at specific times, maybe after a few days or a week or something like that. So I don't exactly know how I'm going to implement that, but I will have the capabilities here in the next week or so, and I'll figure that one out. Whatever the content creators want.
Here's a curveball question. It just occurred to me. Are you guys going to put polling on your site?
We could, I'd have to. Is there like a widget we could use for that? I would assume there's got to somebody had to create something that's some kind of widget that you could plug in and it could do certain polls. I would think it's a good barometer, right? So I'm talking out of local. Remember, I'm in every market. I could do it in a city.
No, the reason I ask is because in Canada we're having an election right now, and as you mentioned, um, Canada, we have state-sponsored media. They're just going around and they're putting out these like fake polls to demoralize the population.
Isn't that amazing? Don't worry, they did it here. I remember the first Trump, when Trump won. I mean, he was expected to lose by a landslide. I went to bed going, "He's done." And next thing you know, when I wake up, I'm like, "He won." Right? They
You're
did the
talking about
same.
2016?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did the same thing here. Oh, Hillary's expected to win by how many points, and it was all BS. So yeah, they do the same thing here. The reason we're in the mess we're in today, Payman, is because of the media. Because if they were telling the truth, none of this stuff would happen. In your case, they're paid to tell whatever the government tells them to say. They
Like
are.
I think I said earlier, you're doing God's work, but you absolutely are. I'm running for federal office here, and when I
Mhm.
go to these debates, like these people have been lied to by the media for decades, and I have 90 seconds to respond. Like I can't educate them in 90 seconds. We need people like you to spread the truth.
Well, it's not so much me, it's the vehicle that's going to do it, right? So, like I always tell people, I'm not in the news business. I mean, imagine if you and I, we're developers. We built a football stadium and we can't play football. I mean, we can't play in the NFL, but if we bring the teams in, that's the draw. And then people stand out front because they want to watch, and we sell them the tickets and all the concessions when they come inside. I'm not in the news business. I'm in the platform business. Okay. The players, remember I showed you those 500,000 people on LinkedIn? Those are the people that lost their jobs. And all I do is invite them onto my playing field and they bring me the whole audience. But the audience could be somebody who does high school sports in Beaumont, Montana, and has 3,000 followers. And when they post the basketball game or the football game or the baseball game, those 3,000 people are coming to me to consume it. But I can have 1,000,000 of him. You see? That's the scale.
What about ideological bend? Like I'm assuming you're not going to be left or right. Just you let the people decide what they want to post.
Yes. So, I'm going to be myself more conservative, but I don't get involved with the content side of it. And also 99% of the content we get is not political. It's the bank robbery, the car crash, the city council meeting, the high school football game. It's, the golf news. I mean, I'm the daily newspaper in every city in America with USA wrapped around it, right? And so all my content comes from outside contributors, and the more content creators I bring on, the bigger it grows. So yes, we will end up having people that are going to be more left leaning and right leaning. But right now, the content that we're bringing in primarily comes from conservatives that lost their voice, that were banned, and they now have a free speech platform to get their information out, but they represent 1% of the content I get. The bulk of it's all local news somewhere. And there's nothing political about the high school football game. Okay, so it's just not. So it's over time, I'm sure I would like it to balance itself out. I do know that the liberals really don't need this because every media outlet that's mainstream media in the United States is all left leaning. So they already have their voice. But as I'm going to just read this to you. I don't need to show it to you. I just want to give you an example because I always tell people the legacy media has a limited lifespan, right? The average age of the cable news viewer and radio is north of 70. Somebody told me the other day it was 73. Well, if the average person lives to 76, do the math and you tell me exactly how long they have. So I'm going to give you an Adweek just came out with the numbers for the networks. Fox News, their average viewership was a total of 3 million people for the first quarter. Did you hear that?
That's it.
And I know. Now wait, it gets worse. Between the ages of 25 and 54, 380,000 for the quarter. Okay. Now that's the big dog. Then you get an MSNBC, which was second with 1,000,000 and 57,000 people between the ages of 25 and 54. And the third one was CNN, which had 588,000 for the quarter. By the way, I'm bigger than CNN. Okay. And they had 79,000 between 25 and 54. The reason I'm bringing that up to you is because what do you do when that 70s crowd is gone? There's no younger generation. There's not enough to support it. Some of the shows I get on, on Rumble get 200,000 views. Okay, 200,000, and they're talking about for a quarter 57,000 people. I mean, it's because they're consuming information in other places. They're not the younger generation is consuming information on TikTok, Instagram. Maybe they follow you or they follow other people. I mean, it's there's still a demand for news. It's just consumption has changed. And the point I'm making with those numbers is those are all antiquated, outdated products that will be replaced. Look, it's no different than going from the telegraph to the telephone. When was the last time you sent a telegraph? You didn't. Somebody created a phone. When was the last time you got in a horse and buggy? You didn't, because somebody created a car. It's the same thing. What I do will ultimately replace the legacy media. It'll just be a platform with public participation, because that's what drives an audience, right? It's what the people want. I remember I was sitting at a bar having a beer, and a guy that was a CBS 12 here in Palm Beach County, I know him, and he comes up to me and he says, Sam, I was looking at your website. So you have a submit news button at the top. And he looked at me in disgust. He goes, you allow people to post? I go, oh my God, don't you? I knew he didn't. And he goes, we would never do that. I go, that's why you're going to go out of business, stupid. Okay, this is what the people want. Then the woman next to me chimes in and goes, yeah, no kidding. It's like, if you don't allow somebody to post their opinion or their kid's Little League game, then guess what? They're going somewhere else to do it. The trick is the scale, right? So, everything on the internet is global. Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the tech giants are global. The reason is the barrier to entry to another country is zero, right? For me, it's a zip code table. So most likely, the future of news will be a global media giant. It'll be global. It's just a zip code table. So I'm going to do it, but it'll take me, I could do the US, but I think I'm going to need to bring in some smarter people for the rest of the globe, and big cash.
Are you encountering any resistance from all these new laws and regulations? Like, I remember the EU had the GDPR, and now they have new censorship rules. Canada's got Bill C-11, C-18. Like, do you have a team of lawyers, or are you just like, whatever, free speech, come get me?
Well, come get me. So even if you had lawyers, they're still going to shut you down. They don't want me to exist in your country. So what they're going to do is shut the IP down, but people can access with a VPN. Basically, it's like pissing in the wind. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere. And what are you going to do to me? The answer is nothing. Not coming to your. So I'm doing this for you. Okay. So I know it's going to get me in hot water in Canada. So I'm not going to be invited there.
Do you know the online platform? It's not Grok. It's the free speech alternative to X, Gab. I think it's called Gab.
I do. I mean, I've never been on it, but I know of Gab. We have I think there's a Gab button for sharing on mine. Ours is a little different though, because
no, I understand it's different, but I wanted to bring up an example. The CEO of Gab, he's a strong believer of Christianity, and he's a huge proponent of the First Amendment. And the European Union, they threatened to shut down Gab, or they wanted to pursue charges against him. And he's like, hey, man, if you want to bring a tank from Europe to Pennsylvania and you want to come to my building and try to put the handcuffs on, good luck to you. He's like, but here we have the First Amendment, so F off.
Exactly. That's my response. What could you possibly do? People want to access it. People want to have a voice, Paymon. They do. They don't want to be censored. They want to be able to speak freely. And I understand why governments don't want it. It's because if you want to control people, you got to control information. Once information is out there freely, you have no control anymore. It's all about power, right? That's all it is.
No, I guess I got some other questions, but on that topic, I wanted to pick your brain on everything that's happened since 2020. Like the US was going down an extremely dark path. The censorship. Do you remember that press release Biden did? It looked like Nazi Germany with the two Marines behind him, or the Navy SEALs. Like,
I don't
what are
remember
your
what
views for the future of America?
currently. Okay, I think it's very good. I'm very optimistic because, and I'm going to tell you why. In 2016, Trump ran that he was going to drain the swamp. The swamp drained him. Okay, whether or not they did. Okay, they got rid of him, and all they did was lawfare. All they did was kept making shit up, and the media kept running with it, and he never really had any opportunities to do anything. So then after he gets out, they're going after him for everything and manufacturing stuff and things with statute of limitations. They're going back and writing laws to say, well, now we could bring that back. I mean, this is just nuts just to try and stop this guy. None of it worked. None of it worked. As a matter of fact, it made his base even stronger because now, and then they tried to shoot him twice. Okay. So everybody just said, you know what, this guy's got to get in. And I was of the opinion that, it's going to be difficult because if you control the voting machines, how do you win? But obviously, he did. And what really blew me away was what he did next. Because somebody told me he had 4 years to figure this out. So he went after the money. So do you want to know in the United States which market the houses is declining the most? It's DC. Want to know why? Because all the money stopped. You want to drain the swamp? Get rid of all the money. So here's what happened. All the lobbyists who were making money off of the client base because they had relationships with the congressman, nothing's going through. Nothing. So all of a sudden, these guys are not making any money. They got to sell their houses and go do something else. So here's what this is a guess because Trump doesn't call me and tell me anything. Okay. I'm just letting you know. My guess would be, with what they did with Doge and they uncovered all this corruption, even though you still have the mainstream media still, trying to tell you what a fraud he is. And these illegal MS gang members are great people and we need to bring them back. He's moving forward to dismantle this whole thing. And I would suspect he's probably going to get rid of at least 60 to 70% of the dead weight in the government, which is going to help, right? Because you're not spending as much money. It's possible he could, put a massive dent and maybe pay off that debt with the tariffs. I think that we're all hopeful because everybody's screaming for, we want to see perp walks. We want to see these people get arrested because we all know that these politicians that come into office, like I can't even think of her name, the
Nancy Pelosi.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother animal. She's had like 300 years to make her net worth, right? But I mean, the black woman that has been just literally bitching and moaning. Well, her too, but the other.
I could go all day. I could give you.
I know. The one that when she signed up for Congress 24 months ago, she put down her net worth was 29,000. It's worth 10 million now. It's mathematically impossible, but she somehow pulled it off. Damn well there has to be those money coming from USA to these shell companies that gets, they're going to teach LBGQ chickens how to have sex with, sheep and, whatever the story is. So there's $2 billion that goes there. But that stuff is getting funneled all over the place, coming back to the Democratic Party, and our own tax dollars are funding all this stuff, right? All that stuff's been cut off. Now you have to find out where the problem is. And this is where where the crimes were committed and where did the money go? And I would suspect it's going to take a lot of people and a lot of investigative work to be able to track all this stuff before they make the arrest. This is my guess. I'm hoping that this is what's happening because I know when it came to Trump, they created a crime. They didn't have to investigate it because it never existed, right? So they could immediately file charges, okay, on something that didn't exist. And then they ran with it and they got judges to find them guilty. So I think they're actually going the proper route. And eventually it'll turn into a mass, I would suspect at least 30 to 50% of Washington has got to be on the take somehow. I mean, there's no way these people were not making money off of this. So we'll see. This is, knock on wood, I think they'll eventually find all the crimes and arrest all these people. And if they don't, then that just means that there's no consequences if you're a politician.
Up here in Canada, people ask me like, how do we fix Canada? And I say it doesn't really matter what happens in Canada. And these are the things that matter. 2026, you guys got to win the Senate and the House. 2028, you got to get another president in for another 8 years, and that president has to secure the Senate of the House, and you got to onshore your industry. Like if you can do those things, basically a reverse of the crap that FDR did in the 30s and 40s, I think North America will be fine.
I'm not going to even argue that. The question is, how does that impact Canada?
Oh, I'm hoping osmosis will get some of your, liberty and some of your good ideas up here. We have nothing but bad globalist ideas right now.
You do. So, I mean, I hear bad things, from the content creators up in Canada that tell me about the suppression that you guys are facing, right? And what is the company? Is it Newsbreak? What is the company up there that is producing news? I can't think of the name of it. I've never talked to them before, but it's an alternative news source. I watched a woman get arrested. There was a sign in the back. I've never talked to the gentleman.
Rebel News, maybe?
Rebel, that's it.
Yeah.
Right. So so Rebel is a Canadian news outlet. Is that correct?
Correct.
I've never talked to that guy, but when we get the Canadian version, I'll tell him, we're a platform. So I don't compete with anybody. We're just a place to dump it for distribution and monetization. That's all we are, So every content creator wants two things: distribution and monetization. That's all I do. So I would love to have those guys start submitting the content.
Why don't we? There's another question I had. I was, we were talking about how the mainstream media is basically liberal, so there's no need for them to find alternative platforms. Like, what do you think is going to happen to these liberals as the legacy media starts to fail? Another few years, it's on its way out. Are they going to start embracing like podcasts? Because I don't see any dialogue or discussion from the left.
Well, they're going to have no choice. The thing is, they don't really have an infrastructure set up for it, right? Like we were forced to, because all the people got booted off of all the platforms. YouTube kicked everybody off. You had X and Facebook kicked everybody off. And so all of a sudden you had this void, and then you had entrepreneurs come in and fill those voids. And now we're sitting with all the conservative platforms, the free speech platforms, where they have theirs, okay, which is YouTube and the social media platforms, but they missed out on something like this. Remember, for the most part, liberals are not entrepreneurs. They're not. So the only thing they know how to do is burn shit down. That's it. Cry, complain, burn stuff down. I mean, shoot people, destroy. That's it. They're not businessmen. That's why I always tell people, they talk about Amazon and how Bezos is a liberal, and, we need to ban, we need to not do business with, Amazon. Well, it's never going to happen. Number one. Number two, Amazon is a mall. Everybody that's selling crap in there is a business owner, and they're most likely a conservative. So anything you buy is from a conservative. It's just how it works. So, and I don't know why these people who get mega wealthy become liberals. I think maybe they feel guilty that they have all this money. And if I say I'm a liberal, it sounds better, but at the end of the day, what I'm hoping is going to happen is Trump is going to turn this into an economic engine that just spits out money. And how in Alaska, the residents get a check because of the oil, right? It's like a profit sharing. And in Saudi Arabia, the residents get checks. What I'm hoping is, and it's not like I want it. I think that Trump is going to make this so anybody who's a U.S. citizen is going to be able to share in the profits, which, the liberals, anybody who pays them, they'll go any way you want them to go. It doesn't matter, right? So if Soros is writing him a check saying, you hate this person, I do. I hate this person. I do. And if Trump writes him a check going, no, you hate that. Okay, I do. It's a bigger check. So they don't really care. They just want a cause and something to be able to scream about. So I think do I know this is going to happen? No. Would I suspect if anybody could pull the United States off and make it an economic engine that just spits out trillions in cash and then gives dividends to the residents here, I think Trump could do it. Number one, I also think the liberals would probably go nuts if somebody who's not a resident receives the check. which means all of a sudden they're going to tell the legals that they have to go. You can't share in my money. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
yeah,
understand what
no,
you're saying.
they're all nuts. I mean, liberalism is a disease that can't be cured.
You
It
know,
really
we,
can't.
we have a similar conundrum happening in Canada right now. The Liberals have opened up our borders. We've let in like millions of people, and we're 1/10 of the size of your country. So actually, we've let in more people than Biden let in illegally. And now these people that are coming in, they're conservative. So they come in and they're opposing the welfare state that's been set up. So now the Liberals are turning on the immigrants.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's happening slowly, but you see it because the old stock Canadians, like the boomers, the ones that are on their way out, they just want more and more entitlements. But the younger ones that come, they're coming from like India, where it's anarcho, it's absolutely anarchy. They're not used to all this red tape.
Wow. Well, I mean, that whole issue you have up there at some point in time, remember this, the more garbage you keep dumping on top of the pile, the bigger it gets, right? So the more garbage they keep bringing on, it's only going to end up becoming worse. But eventually you have to adjust the problem because it's going to start to stink.
That's a good
So
one.
it's the truth. So you guys are going to have to fix this problem at some point. Kicking this can down the road is never going to work because you guys are going to run out of money.
Yeah, that's true. Sam, let's go back to your news platform. When do you imagine you're going to roll this out for Canada?
Good question. I've got somebody looking into it now, and they're going to get back to me with what it's going to take, how much money I got to spend, and how long it's going to take. I would imagine it probably wouldn't take long. So let's just say I'd like to text them, but I would say probably in the next month, I think we should be able to pull it off. I mean, this is not a big feat. It's a zip code table, for God's sake, right? I think it has to fit in. The way I want it to work is I don't want it to be its own site. I want it to be yournews.com, and it identifies you from Ontario or Alberta or wherever you are, and then has all the same national news, which is US based, because I think a lot of it, people are interested there. And also, certainly the sports, right? I mean, I got all the sports, so I don't have to change anything, but all the local content can come from the local people. So
You know,
that's,
as you're describing this, I have a question. Why has no one done this already? It seems like a basic idea.
you know, I don't know, because the void is massive. I would suspect if I were to shut mine down, somebody would do it. It's too big of an opportunity. I've been doing this for years trying to figure it out. So, when from what it was to what it is today is completely different. But, now I've got it dialed in, and now I'm in the process of onboarding journalists. And so I've created a few ads that are going to be video ads that are going to start, short, like 30-second things. We're going to be marketing this to not only the freelance journalists, but student journalists. And because I want a lot of student journalists. Alex Newman from the New American joined me, right? He's now on my board. He's also putting together the journalism ethics for your news. He's also going to be a training person for the students that want to. So let's say I bring on 1,000 journalists, all students. Nobody's going to hire these kids. I mean, when you get out of school, who the hell's hiring? Everybody's laying off. Why do you think there's 500,000 people that are freelancers? Because they can't get a damn job. So what we're going to do is bring them on. And then for the people that want to learn, I'm bringing in talent like Alex, and Alex might bring in maybe Megan Kelly or somebody, right, to be able to train these people. Yesterday, I was on with Ivory Hecker. Do you know Ivory? Ivory's got a program for journalists that teaches them. And she's like, well, if you want, we can sell it. I go, Ivory, we're not selling the program to people. I'll pay for it. You teach it. Okay. I'll bring you the students. You teach it. Okay. So you don't want to charge these kids. You want to make sure that the problems that we had in the past never appear again. And the only way to do it is you need to teach people how to do it properly. Right? That's all it is. So hope that answered your question.
It did, but as you were saying that, like after 2020, after the shenanigans and they removed Trump, everything that's happened during COVID, I've got so much more respect for Americans now. Like you guys, you kind of paved the way in the way that you rallied behind Trump and you used social media and everyone got involved. It was like a democratic movement of of individual reporters and journalists and podcasters. So you guys, like, literally, you saved the world. So thank you.
Hey, look, it wasn't me. I mean, I did my part, right? I mean, I'm basically taking all those people that are really the reason that we're here today, and I'm just bringing them under one umbrella. That's all it is. And so it's important that we do this for every country, I think, right? You know, you're not going to get in the Middle East, okay? You know, you get into countries, even the UK is going to not really care for me very much, but I'm certain that India is going to like it. I'm certain that a lot of countries are going to want what we have. It's just a matter of that's where scaling, and this is normally companies like mine get funded by Silicon Valley, but this company gets funded by Silicon Valley. I mean, we have completely polar opposite ideologies. So this company has been funded by the people. This is where you probably heard from Allison. I'm doing something called an equity crowd fund because I'm not going to institutions. And by the way, if you want to know my background, I worked for Lehman Brothers for years. I was in capital raising, investment banking. I mean, my contacts are institutional players. So if you came to me with a deal and said, here's this business, and I read it over and I went, this is a freaking good idea, I have a Rolodex of people I bring it to for funding, and the people who want these deals are all the people that have all the money, which would be the institutional players, right? But the issue we're facing is there's 6 companies that control the legacy media right now, and back in the 80s there was 500 different independent media outlets. There's 6 today. It's called consolidation, in case you don't know what that means. That's why we're in the mess we're in today. So the reason I'm not going to my friends that own the private equity firms is because when you take their money, they own you. They do. Trust me. They could remove you. They could put in somebody else. So I decided to do something a little different, which was an equity crowd fund. For those of you who don't know what it is, because I had to figure out what it was. It allows, when you sell private placements, you could only sell to accredited investors, which primarily are institutional players, which have all the money. So I do it to, what I did was when you do these equity crowd funds, everybody can play, and they could spend $200, $300, $500, just small amounts of money. But the way I saw it is if I take $5 million from a buddy of mine, I'd be beholden to him. But if I take $5 million from, let's say, 5,000 people at 1,000 a pop, I'm beholden to nobody. More importantly, we're distributing the content to the company to the people. Somebody said to me, well, how do we know you're not going to sell out? I go, I already am. I'm selling it to everybody. I want the people to own the product. I'm 60 years old, for God's sake. Where the hell am I going? I mean, this, if anything, the only thing I have left is my legacy, right? So I'm not going to sell out to somebody. If big tech wanted to buy this, I'm going to tell them to go to hell. Whoever runs this company is going to have unlimited power, right? And so you don't want that. You want it dispersed to the people. So the people need to own the product. I mean, look, if I came to you, Payman, and I said, by the way, we're a news organization by the people, for the people, and BlackRock and Vanguard own half the company, what would you tell me?
Liars.
Exactly. So that's where the equity crowd fund comes in, because it distributes the product to the people, not to institutions.
And can anybody donate? Like, what
Yeah,
happens if I give you $1,000?
already? I have Canadian investors already. Yeah, anybody could. It's not a donation. They're buying stock.
Stock. That's what I meant. So you're buying stock. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to take this public no more than 24 months, probably earlier. Like I hired a guy, because I'm in this industry, I know a lot of people. So I hired somebody that not only took 4 of his own companies public, but he's done 17. And so he had reached out to me and he said, Sam, what you do, it has to happen. Okay. And he said, here's my thoughts on it. And, I think you really need to do this via an equity crowd fund. So the people, and I said, Joel, that's a really good idea. So he said, what I'll do for you is the structure, and I'll put it all together. And then he actually even put money in. Okay. I mean, he didn't ask me for a nickel. He just said, I'll buy stock in the company. I'll do this part for an equity stake. But then when you're ready to take this public, I'll do that part for you. Because I couldn't do that. I mean, that's not what I do. But when somebody's done it 17 times, they know what the hell they're doing, right? So everything that we're doing, like when you do this through I use a company called Issuance Express, which is the platform, which is owned by North Capital Partners, which is a brokerage firm. So if you know anything about this, no brokerage firm is tying their name to anything unless you pass their sniff test. So every single person in my company had to go through a background checks. We had to do audits, anything, any legal stuff all had to be done, because for them to sign their name to it, they would be liable if something happened. So that was the reason I did it this way. And so it's going. I mean, I can tell you this was probably the best thing we did, because now I get the opportunity to put it to the people. I have some big horsepower coming on shortly, which can distribute it to even more people. All you need is influencers, like MAGA influencers. So I know plenty of them, probably 10 of them. So I'll probably bring 1 or 2 on here shortly. But Joel calls me the other day and he says, I have a brokerage firm that'll do the second round of funding if you want to participate. Well, he has a vested interest, so why wouldn't he, right? And I said, okay, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. But the first thing I'm thinking is all the money's going to be institutions.
Yeah.
All of them. 100%. They don't do business with people giving them $500. They won't do that. And by the way, all you got to do, you remember Public Square, Michael Seifert, they went public. They did a SPAC. Don Jr. was behind it. It was, alternative like to buying from Amazon, and they were trying to compete with Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, so they went public. All you got to do is look it up. 38% of his company is owned by Vanguard. I'm not knocking them. I'm saying that's just how it happens. But all my stock is owned all by the people. Okay. Not by any institutions. I have 225 shareholders now that bought stock in the company in the last 4 months.
Sam,
yeah.
How this is fascinating. How did you manage to do this? Like, did you actually go door knocking? Like, hey, would you like to donate $100? How did you reach out to these donors, investors?
Number one, I had over 500,000 people on my site last month. Okay. So it's not like I don't have traffic. They buy from me. But then because I have 150, 200 podcasters that are all conservative podcasters like you that are on my platform, I get on their shows and we talk about this and explain it, because this is really just a marketing effort to explain what we're doing. And then, so nobody sells anybody anything. It's just, here's what I'm doing. Here's the link if you want to go there and you read it. And if you like what you read, you click invest and you put in as little or as much as you want.
There we go. That was my question. So it's a seamless process. It's not like...
Yeah. I mean, nobody's, trying to sell somebody something. If you think what I do is going to replace the legacy media and you think there's money here, you place your bets. If you think that horse is going to win the race, place your bet. Okay. That's it. Nothing more.
Let me ask you something.
I have to tell you, I do have the deck stacked in my favor. Number one, the whole industry's coming my way. Number two, there is nobody else. I'm it. Number three, I showed you the void with 500,000 people plus the 200,000 kids, the 700,000 people. Okay. That void needs to be filled. Okay. It needs to be filled. And there is nobody. You see what I mean? And then I got the guy who's taken 17 companies public. We will be one of them. So this is kind of like, I don't need people's money to figure this business out. Here's what's going to happen. I'm just going to let you know. Right now, I have a small marketing budget and I'm adding news reporters every day. Okay. At least 100 a month. I want to jump that up to about 500 a month. It's not hard. It's just spend more money, reach more people. They sign up and you get more content. Well, in any company, as you grow and expand, I mean, let's say that you sold shirts and you were online, you had an online store and you got 10 orders today. Well, okay, you could wrap the shirts yourself and ship them out, right? What if you had 10,000 payment? Could you do it? No. Okay, you're going to go, holy crap, I need to hire people to help me, right? What if I get 10,000 articles? Could you approve them? No. This is where, you're going to have to build an infrastructure around it. It's no different than Facebook or YouTube or Amazon or anything else. I mean, Amazon started with 1 employee. It eventually went to 2, and now they got like 2 million or whatever the number is. It's the same thing. So it's just growth. Growth is easy because there's a demand. Now you just need the capital resources to be able to expand and any problems you run into, you could address. That's all.
Man, I'm really loving this conversation. Going back to
Mm.
the online investment, what are the payment options? Like, can I just send my audience your way, or does it have to be U.S. citizens?
No, no, it could be. I have people in Australia, people in the UK, and then they're going, "When you coming here?" Right? Like I'm doing my best. Okay, but it's so the way it works is, if you want me to share my screen and show it to you, I can.
Sure.
It's up to
Go
you.
ahead.
So let me pull it up first. All right, so I'll share the screen. Present. Here it is. You see
Bring
this?
it. There we go.
Okay. So if you look at the top, it says issuanceexpress.com/Nico-Reg-CF. That's our offering. The company that is called Nico Ventures Inc. It's a holding company that owns your news. There's a reason. This is no different than News Corp owns Fox and 20 other companies. It's a holding company. Nobody calls Fox News Corp. They call it Fox, but it's owned by News Corp, which owns 20 other media companies. So this is our brochure, if you will, right? Now, if you notice, it says $2 per share, $200 minimum investment. So somebody can throw in 200 bucks. 100 grand min, which means once you hit 100, you could take the money, and then you could raise up to 5 million, and I could stop it anywhere in between. And then this shows you how much money has been raised. For some reason, when you do this on your phone, it doesn't show that. But there's actually been a little bit more than that, because some people pay on what's called ACH, which is a check. So it doesn't show up for a week and then it appears, right? And so here's the information that people can read about it. There's a video I have in here. And then if they like what they see, all they do is click invest. They create an account and they fill out the application or the subscription agreement. And then they put in, they could do it. Hold on, let me go back to you here, because I think everybody pretty much figures this out, right? Let me stop presenting. How do I do that? Stop sharing. Okay, so then what they do is they could pay by credit card. They could pay by ACH, which is like a check, online through your bank. And the third way is you could actually take crypto. I didn't
I
know
was
that.
going to ask about that, man.
Yeah,
I love where your company's going.
because it's not me. I don't know what Issuance Express. So all that money goes into a holding company, like Issuance Express holds it, and then I can clear funds, right? So I've cleared funds a couple times, but I still have a bunch of money in there. So somebody asked me, can you pay with, with like a Bitcoin type thing? And I don't know. Let me reach out to them. So I sent them an email and they go, oh yes. And here's the instructions on how to do that. I would suspect it's all in the instructions, but yeah, there's 3 types of currencies you could pay with, check, credit card, or crypto. I thought that was pretty cool. Nobody's done it yet. So
This is
but I'm sure they
super
will.
cool. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm actually excited because usually I hate talking about businesses and mergers. My buddies are in investment banking, and it's really dry. But that website, it makes it almost fun. I almost want, if I had money lying around, I'd go invest in your company right now.
Look, it's not for everybody, right? I mean, but ultimately, at the end of the day, how many people, if they could invest in the automobile back when Ford created it, would have done it? How many people would have invested in, in the telephone company when the competitor was the telegraph, right? So the good news about this is it's coming no matter what. Everybody can figure it out. I mean, when the alternative news has now become the mainstream media, and not for nothing, but Joe Rogan is bigger than every network combined. Give me a break. One guy, you have to know that stuff is all antiquated and obsolete. So all I'm doing is aggregating it under one umbrella and creating one uniform media. And by the way, all the content, nobody says no to me. They all want to give it to me, right? Like how many nonprofits and PR firms have press releases they're trying to get to the media? All I have to do is tell them I exist, and all of a sudden they start slamming me with content. So that's the marketing effort I think in the United States, there's 5 million PR firms and like 10 million nonprofits. I mean, give me a break. Every one of them has news. So my point is we can take all the content in because it can be organized. They'll all give it to you freely. They just need to know you exist. So this is just nothing more than one big massive marketing campaign. And then advertisers, I'll do the same thing that that all the platforms did, like LinkedIn. Remember when Google and Facebook were giving away like ads, here's $50 credit. Like I have a $50 on LinkedIn they sent me, I just kept it. So what'll happen is I'm going to start marketing to business owners, and the marketing piece is going to say, whatever, target your ad on the Your News network, and here's a little video you could watch which shows how the content creators will post the story, and then they share it on social media. And when their followers click the link, your ad could appear here and they get a piece of the action. That's already created. I already done all that. So, and by the way, here's a $50 coupon. So what happens is they go to the site, they create an account, they put in their credit card, then they put in their promo code, which, by the way, I haven't had that part built yet, but I will, trust me. And now they get a $50 free ad. And then once their ad campaign is complete, it'll send them an email saying, Payman, you have $10 left in your account. If you'd like to continue, click this button and add, because I already have your credit card, add funds, right? And it's all self-service. Because people tell me, do you need salespeople? No, I don't need any salespeople. This is all self-service, right? And here's the best part. The ads are on a best bid basis. So you sell, national ads sell for a penny, but hyper local ads drilling down to a zip code, I get like 20 cents for them. So if you think of West Palm Beach, which might have 20 zip codes or something. Well, how many are reading in one zip code? Okay, see what I mean? So people they'll bid 20 cents because what's their bill? Like $1 a day, $2 a day? I mean, it's like petty change. I would rather have 2 million customers giving me 10 cents than, 100 people giving me a penny. And it's all based on the highest bidder. And it's always the hyper local guy because he don't care. Valpak, do you guys have those in Canada? I'm assuming you do, right? Where it's like
I'm not
zip
familiar
code.
with that.
Well, here in the US, we have something called Valpak, and it's basically a package that goes out in the mail that has all these different coupons. I'm assuming you have coupons, right? Like, so the ice cream par, the hair and nail salon and all that stuff, right? And they pick the zip codes they want their ad mailed to, but it's in a bulk, like with 50 other businesses. So you can target just the zip codes where somebody would walk in with the coupon. And some businesses are broader than other businesses, like if you're a roofing company, you'll probably drive 30 and 40 minutes to go do somebody's roof, right? So they'll want a broader area. But if you're an ice cream parlor, nobody's driving a half hour to get an ice cream with their kids when there's one, a block away. So they could send it right to the homes in the area. Ours is the same thing. You could target right down to one zip code. It's really cool. And all my content gets fed by everybody else, which they're looking for distribution. And in some cases, monetization. By the way, we don't monetize PR firms and nonprofits. I'm just letting you know. You already get paid by the clients, and if you're a nonprofit, it's called an ad. We don't care. It's an event, but we get like right now a lot of Easter egg hunts, for Easter come in and stuff like that. That's all nonprofit stuff. And it's awesome. So does that make sense to you? And by the way, if you'd like me to share, let me get out of this. If you want me to share, you've never seen this before, but I could show you just a couple markets so you get your head around it, because when I get the Canadian version up, you're going to have the same damn thing. You guys just have to fill in the local content. It's up to you.
Sure. Are you going to share something? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. So I'll do it really fast. Present, share screen, and this. Whoops. Hold on. Share. You see this? It says Palm City, Florida.
Yes.
Okay. So when you log into the site, your provider tells me where you live. I'm in Palm City. So my website looks like a news website. All this is national news on the front page. So it's in every city. However, here's all your categories. You want business news, you go to business. You want Second Amendment, you want entertainment, you want sports. In particular, if you want golf, here's golf. I'm just pulling it up just to show you. Okay. And advertisers could target around the content that's relevant to their product. And you know what I say to all this? Who cares? Anybody can have national news. However, this is what sets me apart. This is local news for my market. And markets are defined by television DMAs, but they get drilled down to a city. Whereas if I went into Miami, which is like 2 hours south, you'll see some news, which could be state news running to the state, but other stuff. We get a lot of Cuban news in Miami because it's like little Cuba. Cuban repressors were arrested in Miami for making fraudulent statements upon entering the U.S. and only 132 Cubans entered U.S. illegally in March, and that's the same one that's running statewide. But what I'm going to do, Cuban woman sentenced to 7.5 years, prison for death of 16 rafters.
Wow.
It's all Miami-based news is what I'm getting at, but it comes in from my news reporters. So if I go to another market, and by the way, this is almost every market is like this. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Yankton County Commission enacts emergency burn ban. 7 Yankton residents arrested on drug charges. I think you get the gist of it, right? This is road closures announced by the city of Yankton. So this is all current news that's going on for residents of Yankton. I don't know a zip code for, I have San Francisco, San Diego, LA, Phoenix. I mean, Chicago, I think it's everywhere. So all this content we get coming in is all coming from boots on the ground. So this is stray bullet strikes woman in her home in Schaumburg suburbs. I used to live there. Okay. So justice begins suspect charged with violent hate crime, right? This is DePaul student. So this is Chicago area. Armed, what does it say? Armed traveler arrested of security breach. So by the way, all this is Chicago-based news, and it's from news reporters out of Chicago. Make sense? And then the multimedia is going to be, these are all the podcasters. Look familiar?
Yeah.
This is broadcast live on my platform right now.
That's so cool.
But here's Wendy Bell. She's live right now. So Wendy submits her content to me. And then like if I hit play here, this is actually streaming from Rumble. Yours is from YouTube.
This is cool. You've done great stuff.
Well, there's probably 100,000 pieces of content on this site right now, right? So, this is Wendy live, and I have it, silenced right now, but she broadcasts on your news, but this is really, see, it says Rumble. It's really streaming from her Rumble channel. Yours is streaming from your YouTube channel. Isn't that cool? So it looks like it's with us, and then we sell all these advertisements. That's what we do. Hosted by Brock. That's the guy in the background, which you won't see. So all of this content comes in, and it comes in here, and then we look at it to make sure nobody's doing anything bad, but we could drill down. We could do a market. Like if the story was a Chicago story, these are markets. So, they're based on television markets. So that would mean it would run to the whole, could be 20 counties in Chicago, which parts of Indiana. If it was New York, and this is not the state, whoops, I hit the wrong one. Sorry. It's, if I wanted to go to New York, I can make it go to New York, which means it'll go to the New York market. If I wanted to go to, we got to get rid of this. Hold on.
No, it's national.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill down more granular. So here's Florida. That's all the zip codes for the state. So eventually I'll have yours, right? So let's say Governor DeSantis signs bill into law. Well, I'm going to click add, which assigns it to all these. And then for the subject, it's going to be a political story running in every zip code in the state. So anybody accessing this in the state of Florida is going to get it. But then I could go to a specific county like Palm Beach, and it's only going to give me Palm Beach. So I could hit add and run it there. Or in particular, I can do just, let's say, Boca Raton. So there's the zip codes for Boca. So if it's somebody's Little League game, it's going to be assigned to the sports section. If it's a city council meeting, it's going to go to politics. Make sense? Pretty simple stuff.
Super cool.
And watch this. Advertisers could eliminate zip codes. I could literally make an ad appear in one zip. That crazy or what? So in terms of scalability, let me stop sharing so I could see you. In terms of scalability, however many ads any newspaper could put on their sports page, we could do in just one zip. The scale is there's like 70,000. Now I'm going to create Canada. Then all those zip codes get added to the table. So if somebody wants to run in all North America, they can do it, right? And so isn't that cool?
Sam, like I was not expecting this. We kind of just we did this episode last minute, but I just had a blast. We have to wind the episode down.
Sure.
Um, can I ask, like, like, what is your vision for this product for the future? Like, what you mentioned your legacy. Like, what do you want your legacy to be with this?
Well, for me, this I'm not doing this for money. I have two grandkids in this world, and I don't want them to grow up in some cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs land, right? Because remember, liberalism is going to get worse, right? If it's not checked, and eventually they're going to get it to where nobody has any money. Have you ever seen the movie Atlas Shrugged or read the book by Ayn Rand? Right? I mean, she wasn't wrong. She might have been wrong in the time frame, but it's all starting. Okay, and the reason it's all happening is because the powers to be, call them the globalists, which leverage the politicians, they basically want all the power. And the only way to get all the power is you need to be able to steal everybody's money and make them have nothing but point fingers at everybody else. So this can't happen. So like when people tell me, oh, well, this is too big of an idea, it's going to be acquired by like Bezos. No, it's not. Okay. I wouldn't even sell it to Trump. And I'm going to tell you, want to know who needs it the most is Trump. Okay. When you have 6 million users on your platform and X has 600 billion, there's really no need for your product. And it's not an insult. It's like, why would you create an eBay if there already is one? Okay. And I understand why Trump did it, because he didn't know that Musk was going to buy Twitter at the time. But he did it because he wanted his own free speech platform. But then X bought it, or I'm sorry, Elon bought it, changed the name to X. And basically everybody that has an account on True Social has an account on X too, right? So X controls 100% of the X market. Twitter market, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the name of it, right? But they control the whole thing. So for Trump, there's really no need for what he has. He just has to turn it into money. So he's going to need to make acquisitions. I was talking to Mike Adams from Brighteon the other day, and I said to Mike, this was about a month ago, I said, Mike, unless he buys other companies, he needs to start making big acquisitions because he has stock, right? And if he doesn't do it, the shareholders are going to get disgruntled, and that thing's going to drop like a rock. Now, 3 hours later, I get a press release from them saying we're now making acquisitions, right? It has to happen. I mean, this is just common sense from the investment banking world. I mean, you got a public company that has a product that you can't compete with the 10,000-pound gorilla. You have to go out and acquire other companies. This is just going to be something that might go to the wayside. It's got to be irrelevant because it already is. When Musk has 600 million monthly users and you have 6, you lost. Okay. I mean, but you never should have gotten the game to begin with. But I understand why he got in the game. It's because he was tired of the censorship and he wanted to create his own. Musk just if Musk wouldn't have bought that, it would have made that digital property more valuable.
Right.
Yeah. So in my case, there is no other X. There is no other eBay, right? I'm not competing against anybody. So what's really important here is that we win. And when I say we, I mean us, the people. And the only way to do that is, this is like, it's going to take capital resources to be able to scale this thing. It's just the way it works. It's not my fault. It's just how it works. And to scale it with speed, I mean, right? So that my mission here is to make sure that we don't ever get in the situation we were in before, and that the people can actually control the press. And so the people that I will bring on, and I don't know if you figured this out yet, Payman, but I pretty much know everybody in the conservative movement. And if I don't know them, I'm one call away. So I will tell you, and you could call them yourself. I'll have people like Flynn, I'll put on the board, General Flynn. Simply, nice. I'm going to tell you why. It's because he shares the same value. So as we start selling more stock, eventually I own the bulk of it, but eventually you'll start losing control. But the management team I put in place, once we get to a point, when you start to go global, it's going to take different set of people. I mean, people like that have scaled billion-dollar companies. So it's not going to be Sam. It's not going to be like I was talking to Mike Adams. I said, look, you might want to come in here and be president for a while, but once we do global, we'll basically remove you, and you could come into some advisory board or board capacity. But the new management team, which scales it across the globe, works for the board. I want all my board to be identical to me. Okay. So you know what I mean? Because they're the ones that are going to control everything. Because what you don't want is somebody to scale it and then change the culture.
Right, right.
And so if you have people that are staunch conservatives and free speech thinkers, then they could eliminate everybody. So that is the thoughts here as to how you keep this to where you don't have government influence. It's really going to have to be people that are conservatives that believe in maintaining free speech for everyone, no matter what.
No, it's a great point. Mr. Anthony, I'm honored you came on. I want to thank you for sharing your time with me, and I wish you the best of success. I will send as many people to your news site as I possibly can.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll let you know when we get Canada up and running. If you want to create an account with us, you just go to your news and go down to the bottom of the page and click be a citizen journalist and scroll down there. So just an application. It takes a minute to fill out, and I'll activate you. So now
Sounds
you can
good.
so you can have that under your name. It's just broader distribution for your content. When we create the Canadian version, I'll let you know, and you guys could have a ball with it. You guys got to run with it. It's your show.
Looking forward to it. Sam, have a wonderful day.
All right. Thanks, Payman. Thanks for having me on. Great to meet you.
Likewise. Bye.